Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating story. We are diving deep into the 20-year psychological evolution of DJI's founder, Frank Wang. Now, this isn't your standard dry business timeline. This is the raw story of a visionary's journey from being an incredibly arrogant tech innovator to becoming a deeply reflective philosophical leader. We're going to pull insights from his super rare 2026 interview to explore how scaling a world-class hardware empire practically forces a founder to confront their own human flaws. So if you've ever struggled to manage a team, or let's be honest, just struggle to keep your own ego in check, you'll want to pay close attention to this one. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture it. It's 2016, and Frank Wang drops this notoriously bold claim. The world is incredibly stupid. At the time, his company was totally dominating the global drone market. And man, this single sentence just cemented his public reputation, right? Everyone viewed him as this arrogant, flawless tech genius. And during this era, he really believed that pure product innovation, unchecked passion, and, well, raw ego were literally the only things that mattered in business. But jump forward exactly 10 years to his latest interview, and he finally delivers the punchline to that famous quote. He added, "And so am I." Wow, that is a massive shift. With just those 5 words, Wang completely shatters his own flawless genius myth. It's this profound self-evaluation, right? He's openly recognizing his own early ignorance. He basically realized that, sure, calling the world stupid was the easy part, but recognizing his own operational and managerial blindness, that was the true, painful challenge of leadership. So that brings us to Chapter 1. The illusion of genius, looking back at the early days. Wang was essentially operating under what we could call the Silicon Valley illusion. The idea that a brilliant product naturally guarantees success. But he got a really harsh wake-up call. Today, he actually rates the difficulty of product creation as a mere 1 out of 10. For his visionary mind, creating world-class drones was practically effortless. But human management? He rates that a staggering 10 out of 10. He had to learn the absolute hard way, that while product genius gets your foot in the door, failing to manage actual human beings can, and honestly nearly did, cost him his entire company. Let's move to the timeline and see how this builds, because this realization definitely didn't happen overnight. It was forged over decades. We can kind of map DJI's history into 3 distinct eras. From 2006 to 2016, it was the utopian, wild era. Money is flowing, growth is explosive, and there are virtually 0 rules. But, as you might guess, that unchecked, wild growth led directly into the 2017 to 2018 internal crisis, where a total lack of structure nearly brought the whole operation down. Finally, moving into 2025 and beyond, we enter the system and entropy reduction era, where mature management finally, thankfully, took the wheel. To really understand how bad things got, we enter Chapter 2, the collapse of rights. So when you have a company jam-packed with product geniuses just operating without any rules, severe internal fragmentation is completely inevitable. Wang uses this incredibly powerful ancient Chinese concept to describe this period, Li Bang Yue Hui, which translates to the collapse of rights in music. This is absolutely crucial to understand. It doesn't just mean people were making a few mistakes here and there. It describes a fundamental state of institutional decay. Shared values totally evaporated. A toxic fiefdom mentality took over. You had different department leaders literally acting like kings of their own little empires, completely ignoring the overall health of the company. And look, this wasn't just some abstract philosophical problem. It had a massive real-world financial cost. 1 billion RMB. That is the staggering loss DJI uncovered back in 2018 due to deep-rooted supply chain corruption. To put that into perspective, that massive number grounded Wang's philosophical crisis in undeniable business stakes. The literal lack of rules had cost them $1 billion. And this brilliantly illustrates his massive shift in perspective regarding human nature and business rules. He used this really powerful metaphor about a farmer and a bird. Think about it. If a farmer leaves grain out in the open and a bird swoops down to eat it, the bird doesn't comprehend the moral concept of stealing. It's literally just eating. Wang realized that putting massive financial temptation right in front of young employees without establishing strict rules and oversight is fundamentally anti-human nature. You can't just blame the bird. You have to build a better silo. This revelation kicks off Chapter 3, Laws of Human Nature. Wang went through a really painful awakening here, realizing that human nature absolutely must be managed, not just fought. He contrasts his own evolution using characters from Journey to the West. Early on, he had what he calls the Sun Wukong, or Monkey King mentality. Whenever he saw a problem, he just wanted to smash it with aggressive, reactive force. But he realized this actually made him act like a demon himself. His mature evolution, though, is the Tung Sang mentality. This is all about accepting human limits, embracing a higher order, and willingly putting on the tight band of rules to actually govern behavior properly. He vividly explains this dynamic using a tree metaphor. Imagine a tech company. Everyone wants to be a shiny leaf, right? They all want to do the fun, visible work of product innovation. But nobody wants to be the dark, boring trunk or the hidden roots, which represent management, rules, and daily operations. Wang realized that without a strong, disciplined trunk, a company full of brilliant artists will literally just collapse under its own weight.
Recognizing this collapse led him straight into Chapter 4, Battling Organizational Entropy.
This marked the beginning of a grueling 8-year journey. He started to view his entire company through the lens of corporate entropy. Now, entropy is just the natural tendency of any complex system to degrade toward chaos. Wang realized his main job was no longer just being the cool product guy. His actual job, day in and day out, was to be the chief reducer of organizational chaos. Management, in his eyes, is simply the continuous, daily process of entropy reduction. And reducing that entropy required incredibly painful steps. Step 1 was dismantling those toxic fiefdoms we talked about and establishing basic non-negotiable rules. Step 2 was gradually rebuilding their organizational capability. And Step 3 is what he passionately calls achieving the first cosmic velocity. That's the critical point where the management system becomes self-driving, so it no longer requires the founder to constantly push every single lever. Over 8 long years, he managed to drag DJI's management score from a failing 30 up to a highly functional 65. And hey, the proof of this system's success is right here. 80 billion RMB. That was DJI's revenue last year. Keep in mind, this massive financial success came after implementing strict, highly unpopular internal rules, like literally banning employees from wearing shower slippers to the office. Establishing order didn't kill their innovation. It actually provided the secure foundation they desperately needed to scale to an 80 billion RMB powerhouse. Which finally brings us to our last section, Chapter 5, Truth Above Ego. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it represents Wang's ultimate philosophical shift. He moved from wanting to simply win to genuinely seeking fundamental truths. To illustrate this, he uses a really surprising metaphor for himself today, a soft-shell crab. For years, he was trapped in this arrogant, hardened outer shell of ego. He eventually realized that the absolute only way to achieve true personal and organizational growth was to completely shed that ego, exposing himself to vulnerability, just so he could finally expand. So, his new core philosophy is the pursuit of truth, or Q Zhen Pin Cheng. This means moving way beyond transactional success. It's no longer just about profit margins, It's about conquering the toxic I ego, that part of a founder that desperately demands all the credit. Ultimately, it means aligning the entire company's vision with the highest possible aim, treating the business not just as a machine for making money, but as a shared vehicle for discovering truth. And that brings us to the profound question we want to leave you with today. As visionary founders build the future and scale these massive global companies, are they truly conquering the world? Or, through the painful trials of management and entropy, are they really just trying to conquer themselves? Frank Wang's incredible 20-year evolution strongly suggests it's the latter. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.